In the summer of 2008, two designers in San Francisco were more than $20,000 deep in credit card debt, and they were paying the bills by selling breakfast cereal. Limited edition boxes, $40 each. Every investor they pitched had said no. Renting out a stranger's air mattress, they were told, was an idea no sane person would ever pay for. Today that idea is called Airbnb. It has hosted more than 1.5 billion guest stays, and on the morning it sold shares to the public, it was worth over $100 billion. This is the story of how three young men turned air mattresses and cereal boxes into one of the most valuable travel companies on Earth. Take a seat. This meeting has one item on the agenda: how a company that nearly every smart investor in Silicon Valley rejected ended up worth more than the largest hotel chains on the planet, while owning not a single one of the rooms it rents. There is no fraud in these minutes. No villain. Just three founders, a mountain of debt, and an idea so obviously foolish that being right about it made them billionaires. The minutes run 9 minutes. I suggest you stay for the vote at the end. It started with rent. In October 2007, Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia were two art school graduates sharing a loft in San Francisco, and they could not make the payment. That same week, a big design conference came to town, and every hotel in the city sold out. The two roommates did the math. They had floor space. They had 3 air mattresses. So they threw together a simple website offering visitors a place to crash and a home-cooked breakfast, and called it Air Bed and Breakfast. 3 strangers showed up and paid $80 each. That weekend covered the rent, and it planted a much bigger question. If strangers would pay to sleep on their floor, how many other people had a spare room and needed the money? They pulled in a third founder, an engineer named Nathan Blecharczyk, and tried to turn the weekend trick into a real company. It went badly. They relaunched the site 3 separate times. Almost nobody came. To stay alive, they did something that would become legend. During the 2008 presidential election, they designed novelty breakfast cereal, limited edition boxes called Obama O's and Captain McCain's, $40 each. They sold around 800 boxes and raised close to $30,000. Their actual tech startup was earning almost nothing. By every honest measure, they were a cereal company. Then came the rejections. In 2008, Chesky emailed 7 prominent investors, asking for a small amount of money at a $1.5 million valuation. 5 of them said no. 2 never even replied. One door finally opened. In early 2009, the famous startup school Y Combinator accepted them, and its founder Paul Graham admitted he almost passed too. What changed his mind was the cereal. His logic, roughly: if these 3 can talk people into paying $40 for a $4 box of cereal, maybe they can talk strangers into sleeping in each other's homes. Y Combinator handed them about $20,000 and 3 months of brutal mentorship. Inside that program, they found the move that turned the company. The listings in New York simply were not booking, and nobody could understand why. So the founders flew to New York, knocked on their hosts' doors, and discovered the photos were terrible. The founders borrowed a nice camera and photographed the apartments themselves, one by one. Revenue in the city roughly doubled. It did not scale, it was not clever code, and it was exactly what the business needed. In this building, we have a phrase for founders who will personally photograph a stranger's bedroom to save their company. We call it, "Not yet rich enough to be proud." The growth that followed was staggering. A small seed investment of around $600,000 from Sequoia Capital turned into millions of listings in nearly every country on Earth. The company's name became a verb. By 2019, the once laughable startup was privately valued at around $31 billion, with an enormous stock market debut planned for 2020. Then the world stopped. In the spring of 2020, the pandemic grounded global travel almost overnight. Airbnb's business did not slow down. It fell off a cliff. In a matter of weeks, bookings collapsed by roughly 80%. Chesky said what had taken 12 years to build was nearly wiped out in 8 weeks. In May 2020, Chesky did the hardest thing a founder can do. He laid off about 1,900 people, roughly a quarter of the company, in a public letter that was unusually honest. To keep the lights on, Airbnb raised $2 billion in emergency funding, at a valuation cut nearly in half, down to about $18 billion. The press wrote the obituary. But the obituary was early. As lockdowns dragged on, people did not stop wanting to escape. They just changed how. Instead of hotels in crowded cities, they wanted cabins, lake houses, and quiet homes a short drive away, places where they could isolate with family. That was exactly what Airbnb offered, and hotels could not. Bookings for local, drivable stays came roaring back faster than anyone expected, and Airbnb recovered while the hotel giants were still bleeding. So Chesky did something audacious. Instead of waiting out the storm, he took the company public in the middle of it. On December 10th, 2020, Airbnb listed on the stock market. The shares had been priced to value the company around $47 billion. The instant trading opened, the price more than doubled. By the end of that first day, the company everyone had buried 8 months earlier was worth over $100 billion, more than Marriott, Hilton, and the other great hotel chains combined. 3 men who once sold cereal to make rent now ran one of the most valuable travel companies in history, and they still did not own a single hotel. Minutes recorded. Before we adjourn, one question for the room, and do leave your answer in the comments. 7 investors looked at Airbnb and saw a foolish little startup renting air mattresses. So tell me, were those 7 simply blind? Or is the painful truth that the very best ideas always look stupid right up until the moment they make someone a fortune? Next meeting, a man who convinced the smartest investors in the world that renting office desks was a technology company worth $47 billion. Right before it all came undone. We work. Subscribe. Attendance is taken. Minutes recorded. Meeting adjourned.